Hello everyone, welcome to another Starcraft replay. This one's going to take place on a 2v2 map, which I do not know the name of off the top of my head, so I shouldn't have started that sentence. But anyways, I am Ketroc here, and I'm spotting with my partner Evil Killer. However, he's using Zerg this time. We're going to switch up the races a bit and try out a new strategy. And we're up against two Zerg opponents, so anytime there's Zerg opponents, I send an early scout out just in case it's some sort of double 6 pool. Especially as my partner's build involves going 15 hatch. It's actually going to be a mass speedling build accompanied by a reactor Hellion build. So what it does is you go 15 hatch, and then you go 15 pool, and you go 15 gas. So it's a pretty easy build to do. 9 overlord, 15 hatch, 15 pool, 15 gas. Yeah, that's what it was. And then you just get only 100 gas, then you put the drones back on minerals, and then basically get a couple queens and pump mass speedlings. So here's a fail. Here's a 1v1 tactic to block an expansion. Of course, there's no one right here, so you just moved over and took this expansion. Yeah, some of these 1v1 ideas don't really work in 2v2. So that is going to slow down my build order a bit, so I am going to get my Hellions a little bit later. However, I will get most of this money back when I decide to cancel it. But I'm going to leave it there for as long as possible. So you can see my partner is getting the metabolic boost upgrade, and he's got all his drones back on minerals. And now he's just mass pumping. Bring in production tab. Yeah, just a lot of Zerglings. That production tab is actually kind of annoying. It's good from 1v1, 2v2, it just takes up too much of the map. Can't see what's going on here. So, okay, my timing was a little bit off because I had an engineering bay here for a little while. But typically, when my first 4 Hellions complete is right around the time his metabolic boost and he has a good number of Zerglings is done. So we can push out with both of those. And it's not even necessary to push out together, as you know, you can harass separately with these units. And they're both very good for harassment. Both Speedlings and Hellions can really mess up a drone line. And the nice thing is, they actually complement each other very well as well. Hellions are very good versus, you know, Zerglings and Zealots and Banelings, and they hold their own versus Marines and Reapers and Speedlings. Like, the only thing they are bad against is like roaches, marauders, stalkers, all things that Speedlings are quite good against. So we can either use them to harass, or we can actually take on armies with this as well, as long as my partner gets the surround on, like, say, the stalkers in the back, and I roast up all the melee units in the front. So here goes my partner D. If he does see Banelings, so I'm telling my partner to pull out. I'm like, okay, Zerglings, not good versus Banelings, but my Hellions, yeah, I can roast those things up really nice. That actually worked out well for us. He wasted a lot of Banelings just to kill a handful of Zerglings there. Not even a handful. A fingerful of Zerglings. Now, you don't get the bonus attack versus Banelings, but obviously this early, even on creep, they're pretty slow, so you can just kite them. At the same time, my partner is cleaning up the expansion. And with the Banelings down, I can just roast up these drones. And it looks like blue is going to turtle. I don't understand this response. Like, if you're losing your partner, you should go something ridiculously aggressive just to give yourself a chance. Like, maybe take 2 hidden expansions and turtle, and pray that your expansions don't get caught, and then you can win it economically. Or just go ridiculous hard rush with no defense whatsoever and hope to keep them on the defensive. I mean, you gotta take some sort of crazy risk to win a 2-on-1. But just turtling like this on one base, all that does, like, yeah, it'll extend the game, but you'll never win. You might feel cool, like, oh, I lasted 20 minutes, 2v1. Yeah, but you took a strategy where you could not possibly win. So we're heading into his base here, and I realize there's a really nice pocket. So I'm like, okay, I'm taking this pocket, and you defend me from the Zerglings. That'll be awesome. there we come. I got my speedling wall from my partner. Well, I just get to roast everything through here. Oh yes, and I forgot, the follow-up to this build is I go straight to Starport after the factory, and even though, since I'm spending all my minerals on Hellions, I'll have the gas to cloak Banshee. So taking out a Queen, just forcing a couple of Spine Crawlers. It's actually too bad that these structures are going down. I actually liked it when they were there. So readjusting his Spine Crawlers, nothing my Hellion can do against that. I can roast these Zerglings first though. And as soon as that Spine Crawler's down, yeah, now they're poking away at me. I'm going to have to get the heck out of here. There we go. Same time picking off some kills with this Banshee. I do run out of cloak though, so this Queen should be able to finish me off. Yeah, there we go. Wow, that's a nice range on it. The Queen. Actually, it's further than it looks. It's actually my Banshee is only like here. Just when it looks like it's up here, just by the way the perspective works. It's come sacrificing the Hellions to kill the Spine Crawler, which did not happen. Well. Red, having been ignored, is actually getting back into the game. Even getting a layer. Yeah, okay, let's get back on Red. I did clean up all the drones, and I just kind of left them for dead. But yeah, I guess if you got pulled up resources, and the way Larva works with Zerg, you can actually regenerate those, repopulate those drones quite quickly. Oh, I live with one hit left. That's right. I get to take out this expansion, and it looks like I've cleared out all the drones here again. And we're just pooling up our units. My partner's taking an expansion at this point. Yeah, if your macro ever falls behind doing this, if you are really good at injecting with Queens, you can actually spend basically all your money on Speedlings. But if you ever fall behind and say you got like 600 minerals, just throw down another hatchery. Just keep the pressure on. For your third hatchery, I'd probably throw it at your expansion though, especially if you got them on the defensive. So it looks like that base went down, and always pull back when it's Broodlings. I mean, there's no reason to fight them. I think our Hellions are actually the one of the few things that can kill Larva, especially when you got Blue Flame. You can really cut through that 10 armor. And that's going to be the end of Red, and Blue is, of course, still turtling. Looks like he's going to Infestor Tech. We got the production tab here. Yeah, he's pumping up 5 Infestors, so it looks like Infestors is his idea to somehow win on one base. And we're going to speed this up. So I'm just sticking with my Hellions and Banshees. Killing a Changeling. Red is officially out of this. And we'll just back up. I think I botched that. Actually cut a little bit out because I wanted to keep this a secret. I want to throw a little quiz question, you guys. So we're moving in here. You can see we got about 7 Hellions and 5 Banshees. So pretty good DPS. And then we got 5 Mutalisks and just a couple of Zerglings. And bring in some SCVs and auto repair as well. So now we enter the base, and he's going to throw down 15, I believe it's going to be total, infested Terrans. And don't underestimate their power. They actually do a lot more damage than regular Marines. I think they do 8 damage per attack instead of 5 or 6. What do Marines typically do? I don't know. And I think they're even a little bit tougher as well, like 100 hit points instead of 45. I could be wrong about that. We'll find out. Oh, well, the egg's 100 hit points. Anyways, reason I'm pausing here is going to ask you guys how would you micro this battle. I've got a couple of Spine Crawlers and a lot of infested Terran. What's the best way to micro this? All right, time's up. Let's see if you do have the same response I had. If you said, run away, That's definitely what I chose. Look at all that wasted energy. 15 infested Terran, that's, I don't know, that's a lot. 750 energy? Is that the right math? That's probably the wrong math. 375. A little bit double. There's some charity Hellions for them, just so these guys don't do absolutely nothing. And now that we see that they broke, we're just going to send our units straight back in. And now we're against pretty dry festers. Only 5 eggs are able to throw down. I don't even think they hatched in time. And that is GG. So that's our Hellion Marine Rush. Yeah, mine's pretty typical, where I go gas before barracks. So it's supply depot, gas, barracks, and then factory, and throw a reactor on your barracks, and then you want to swap the factory and barracks and start pumping out Hellions. And by the time you get out your first 4, your Zerg partner will be ready. And for Zerg, you go 9 Overlord, 15 Hatch, 15 Pool, and 15 Extractor. And of course, since those are all on 15, you're building a drone in between. So it's 15 Hatch, drone, 15 Pool, drone, 15 Extractor, drone. And then you get just 100 gas, and then put them back on minerals. Get a couple queens out to inject larvae, and just pump mass speedlings. And usually by the time he's ready to go, I got my first 4 Hellions. And of course, after the factory, I throw down a starport. Use the barracks again to build a tech lab just to speed things up, and then I swap them out, and then I start pumping out Banshees and Cloak Upgrade. And it's good to hotkey all this stuff. Hotkey this tech lab, hotkey this starport, hotkey the factory, and of course your orbital command. And that's so you can keep macroing and building all these units, because you're going to be fighting a lot. So you want to be able to have all this stuff on hotkey so you can build the units without actually having to sacrifice your micro. And it works out really well. Everything Hellions can't kill is something Speedlings can kill. And on top of that, they're both very good at harassing units. So with that, we're going to move on to the next match, where we use this Terran Zerg thing to see if it works with the Fortress Rush. Alright, so here we are in Scorched Basin. I'm spawning as the Terran, which means I'm the one who's going to Fortress Rush now, not my partner. So as soon as I get around to minerals, I stop my SCVs, I lift my command center and send them out. And the reason I stop them is I don't want them holding blue crystals. I want them available to pick up the nice golden yummy ones. Do they still sell golden grams, that cereal? Never actually tried it before. I have to look that up. Although, I'm at the age now where sugary cereal in the morning is just kind of disgusting, rather than something I actually want to try. But yeah, I was deprived as a kid. Cornflakes, Rice Krispies, Cheerios. Nothing with actual sugar on it. Remember those ones you get that would like turn the milk into chocolate milk? We wonder why obesity is rampant these days. Yep, so it's mining up the high yields, and of course once you want about 180 gas in the move out. So just scouting, getting an idea of where the structures are, just so I can plan my route into his base, because I want to float in unseen. So I load up with the high yield minerals, pulling these SUVs around. I'm going to actually load up this command center just in case. You never know when he's going to solid seal his ramp. Now, just going to pause for a second here. This is kind of a problem. I mean, okay, my SUVs, no issue. I can just mineral walk. You know, if you click on his mineral patch here, you'll move through units. So I can glide right through these zealots. I thought that was supposed to be fixed in patch 1.2, but they're keeping it, and I kind of like it. It's a good feature. But the Zerglings won't be able to get in. You're just going to be pounding against this zealot forever. Although the positioning of these buildings make it not a bad thing to be pounding against. It looks like you'll probably get 3 Zerglings surrounding it. But a lot of times you'll only be able to get 1 Zergling attacking. Is this even solid? Maybe you can get through here. But this all works out alright, because if he leaves his zealots at the front, it just means my fortress is going to get up. And then if he pulls his zealots to attack the fortress, then my partner's Zerglings can come flooding in. So just basically leave the Speedlings, the Zerglings around this area. And that way you can intercept the reinforcements, and you can keep an eye on when this wall opens up. And another thing I forgot to mention, when we fortress rush, it's a 10 pool. You can't do that 15 hatch build, it just takes way too long. So we just 10 pool right into speedlings. Here we're coming in, completely unspotted, which is nice. And we don't, another thing is, until he sees this command center, we don't give ourselves away. We're staying back until I know I'm about to land. Because you don't want him looking around his base and like thinking about attacks and stuff, because then you might spot the command center and block it from landing. But if you look at his view, he's probably only just seeing it now. Yeah, so you have no time to react. And now we're timing the flood. So my partner's actually going to counterattack, which works as well. I mean, anything to keep them distracted. And here you go, you gotta be good about keeping SCVs alive, at the same time you gotta keep the fortress alive. So when they attack your SCVs, either run away or fight back. Otherwise, you should always be repairing the fortress. So here he's seeing his flood towards my SCVs, so just run. Now he's going back to the fortress, so I'll move back and defend the fortress. Although I don't really need to. The fortress is done now, and these probes are short for life. Yeah, it's another thing you can abuse the fact he's got the Zealot in hold position and just kind of attack these structures. And if he tries to run to attack you, then you can come flooding in because he's opened up the door. So I'm just going to long distance mine from here from now, maybe fund my partner. Kind of depends on the situation, whether I actually want to build another command center here and get back into the game, or whether I should just fund my partner. It looks like my partner's going to come in for some harassment, but there's a lot of Zealots here. And this is another advantage of sharing unit control. You can see the Zerg is going to die, but we shared unit control, so I can take control of them. And if you do this, there's actually an Easter egg in Starcraft where it creates Benny Hill music, as seen. Alright, that's enough of that. That music gets annoying pretty quickly. But you can see speedlings versus slow lots is kind of hilarious. And as my partner and I are sharing control, and I don't really have much to do except for watch these guys mine, yeah, I can just stick around here and micro and just kill, just annoy him, as without my partner actually slowing his macro at all. Another pylon going down, taking down a couple probes, a couple gateways, a couple pylons, all with just a handful of Zerglings. And without taking control, those Zerglings just would have been mopped up here in like 3 seconds. It was like 6 Zerglings versus 6 Zealots, so it would have been a joke. And now here comes reinforcements, catching 3 Zealots out on their own, because he had them all separated to block my harassment, which means they're not going to fight well versus the Speedlings, and now he's just completely overwhelmed, and this should be game. So yeah, on to the next match. Alright, so there's one final scenario we have here. You may have already thought of this, but there is one weakness to this Speedling Hellion build that the double Marine Rush didn't have, and that is busting through walls. Here we're against 2 Terran opponents, so if they both wall off the top of their ramp, or if they're doing what they're doing here, making a shared wall across here, Speedlings will get just shredded from the ranged units on the other side, and Hellions, of course, can't do any damage to structures. I'm actually wondering if they may do less damage than SCVs do. Yeah, SCVs do 5 damage every 1.5 seconds. Hellions do 6 damage every 2.5 seconds. At least to armored units they do, and do structures. So, yeah, we have obviously have to switch up our build for this. So once I scout that it is indeed going to be double walled off, and you do want to scout it, just because it's double Terran doesn't mean they're going to wall off. Some Terrans like to, build a tight base. You can still harass them. But once we know it's going to be walled off like this, I use my factory to go straight into siege tank tech. So you can notice I'm building a tech lab instead of a reactor, because I'm going to be building tanks to start off with. And then my partner will probably go a little more drone heavy, and he'll have, I would say, maybe 16 Zerglings when we're ready to push out. And we're going to push out probably when I get about 3 tanks. I like to go with 3 tanks and then research siege mode as I'm moving out. Spend all my gas on the tank production to start. And I'm also going to be moving out with Marines and a few SCVs. So basically this wall allows the 2 Terran players to take 4 fast bases, which is typically an advantage, but we're going to turn that into a disadvantage for them. Things I wanted to say, I couldn't remember. Oh well. Well, there's a lull in the action here. I do actually want to thank you guys. Whenever I get messages that are like questions or replays, I usually respond to you guys, but I get a lot of messages that are just like thank yous, and I don't actually respond to those because they're not, say, a question, but I do want to let you know that I do read them, and I do appreciate it. So, for all of you who enjoy my videos, thank you for your compliments and your nice messages. They do make my day. So this is why we push out Zerglings, just to try to keep us alive in case we're intercepted, and then some SCVs and Marines, and we're going to set up containment. So anytime they wall off, especially on maps where the 2 players share one ramp, they can wall off as Terran Protoss or Terran Terran, or even Protoss Protoss, although it's unlikely. And if it's Protoss Protoss, we're going to be fortress rushing anyways. But yeah, if it's any sort of shared ramp like this, it's so easy to get in containments. If you can get it set up, you can hold them in there for almost forever. So that's why I like to move out with a bunch of Zerglings, just so if we run into the force, we can do a lot of damage to them and hopefully still get the containment set up. But at this point, the Zerglings are kind of useless, and you should actually pull them back to, say, here, or even back closer to our bases just to prevent defend versus drops. So you can see I'm getting up sensor towers just to, you want to be able to counteract any sort of workaround to this containment. So if they come flying out with like air units or with drop units, you want to be able to spot it and intercept it. So I think this is kind of like one of our first couple of times we're doing this, so we're a little unsure of how to do this, but at this point we know what to do. It's Speedlings and Mutalisks for my partner, just so he has the mobility to intercept and destroy these drop and air unit attempts. Built a barracks here just for spotting on the high ground. You do have to be a little bit wary of the fact that they could put tanks on the high ground and siege you and you can't fight back. And yeah, so I said we turn these 4 bases into a disadvantage. That's because they may get 4 bases sooner, but now we can move up to like 6 bases and be perfectly safe, so we can actually eventually take over the economic lead. So still pumping out tanks. Obviously that's the best thing to seal with. You can win battles with far less tanks than your opponents, just if you're sieged up and have the spotting. So here is the we did see it with the one missile turret, but he is still moving out. My partner comes with just his Mutalisk, so it wasn't the best intercept. And I do have nothing at home. So I'm just kind of waiting for these next two siege tanks to pop. Notice I have them queued to the back of my mineral line. I'm going to siege them up here and try to mass repair them. And yeah, mass repair worked okay. I mean, I lost my siege tanks, so I killed the majority of their force, and then the speedlings and Mutalisks just clean up what was left. So that wasn't too devastating. I mean, I lost Starport, I think, and a couple tanks, and maybe a handful of SCVs, but that's about it. And everyone here is lying about what league they're in. And now you take a look at the minimap, you can see we're at 5 bases to their 4. Well, actually no, they've got a 5th one here. This should never be allowed. We should be able to see this and intercept it. There's no way they can reinforce it by ground, so it should be an easy kill for us. I guess with Mutalisks, you should always just be poking around and keeping an eye on this. And if I should have built a sensor tower down here as well. You can see the minimap. I don't actually have a whole lot of sight, although we probably would have seen units. Well, I guess he didn't run any units out there. This is just a floated command center, so never mind, the sensor tower would not have helped. Yeah, so our idea was to win with a bigger economy, but we didn't actually have a plan of how this bigger economy would win for us. So eventually we came up with the idea for Broodlords, which I think is a very good idea. Sorry, we'll get back to that thought in a second here. You can see he's on the high ground. But I do have the spotting on the high ground, so I think this is my advantage. Like, if you look at his tanks, he can't see my tanks, but if you look at my view, I can see his tanks. So what I can do here is just abuse the fact that tanks can fire further than they can see. So I know I'm just a little bit out of range. I obviously don't have a perfect feel for this, but I'm just going to move them forward a touch and set them up to re-siege. And then hopefully my spotting will allow me to get these siege shots in, where he won't, because he doesn't have a spotting on me. He does scan, but I think at this point it's too late. I already have the siege advantage. And they haven't got a couple repairing SCVs. And once again, just going to inch forward. See if I can pick up that last siege tank. So it's definitely something. It's micro-intensive, but yeah, you can see the advantage of having spotting units like Vikings. That's why often, at least back in the old day when TBTs was all about tanks and Vikings and nothing else, it was never like an even mix. It was always like 2,000 Vikings and 2 tanks that everyone would go for, because the spotting was actually so much more important than the tanks themselves. Little Overlord patrol dance going on here, I guess. Yeah, let's speed it up some. So I'm going reactor starport. I'm just going to pump mass Vikings at this point, because my partner's going Broodlords. He's going to need the support. He does have corruptors, but I actually wanted to turn all his corruptors into more Broodlords. Looks like I'm actually going to lose my spotter up here, so yeah, and there's no way I can win the spotting war there, as he does have the Viking count advantage. I only have 2 Vikings on the field at this moment. So they're going to push back the seal a little bit. Not too big of a deal. But I mean, their slow push is taking like 20 minutes. Meanwhile, we've taken the entire map. So just rebuilding the bunker, just somewhere to put the Marines. So he does have the spotting, and he's winning that, but now it's just Broodlord time, and I think I have the Viking count advantage finally. And he's not unsieging his tanks, so they're just sieging themselves by siege attacking the Broodlings. And with that, that's going to be GG. I mean, they're basically, well, okay, they're not harvesting that well. Wow, saturate your base, man. Jeez. It's funny. Diamond level in team games is like somewhere between silver and diamond of 1v1. Yeah, so that's what we do when it's like a shared ramp or something where they can both wall off. We just kind of like to contain them with tanks. So what I'll do is I'll make a reactor barracks and a regular factory, pump out 3 siege tanks, and then move out while I'm researching siege mode. It's the same point in the game. My partner should have a good number of Zerg speedlings at that point, maybe 16 or so. You could allow it to go roaches too. That would probably support this push out better, but I like speedlings more all around. And then once you get the containment set up, I mean, yeah, they'll have their 4 bases, but they're going to be stuck on those 4 bases all game, where we can just basically take over the entire map. So that's our 3 variants of playing with Terran and Zerg, and it's worked out quite well for us. Our win rate's at least as good as our double Terran, and we're moving right up to the top of our Diamond League division. I think we're only about 400 points out, and we have like a 1,400 point bonus pool, so if we keep playing, we'll make number 1 for sure. And with that, we'll call that the end of this replay.
Welcome to
it's been pretty long, but I'll still add on a little thumbs up fact probably, and thank you.
Anger does not dictate my life.
Anger does not dictate my life.
Anger does not dictate my life.
You just said that, you stupid.
Alright, for today's thumbs up fact of the day, we're going to discover a fact that I don't even know myself. It's something I've been curious of, so let's discover it together. And that is, I want to find out the range of the Mutalisk bounce. And I think that's kind of important when you're setting up missile turrets, especially if you're clustering a lot of missile turrets. Because you want your missile turrets close together in that they'll support each other. Like if Mutalisks are attacking one turret, it would be nice to have 3 or 4 turrets in range to also help defend. But at the same time, you don't want them so close that the bounce attack will be hitting multiple turrets at once. So I want to find out exactly what the range of this bounce is. So, this guy number 1. You can see we have 2 structures here, and there's 3 hexes between them. So we're going to see if this bounce actually works. So it's not bouncing to the next one, so we know it doesn't have a range of 3 hex. So here we have 2 hex distance, so let's see if this bounce works. So it's actually bouncing from 2 hexes. Alright, so I guess we don't need these ones. We obviously know those will hit as well. Just double check. So another thing I'm interested in is whether it matters what direction you're attacking it from. Because maybe when you're hitting a supply depot, it's actually hitting these 2 hexes here, which means it's actually 4 away. So if I attack from this side, it'll hit these hexes here, and it'll actually only be 3 away. So let's just kind of test, see how that works. No, still doesn't bounce. Another thing I want to discover is if the size of the structure matters, like whether it's going from the outside of the structure or the inside. So let's do it with the command center. So it's 2 hex, right?
Roger.
Oops. 2 hex. I'll do a little diagonal. So let's see if these bounces actually work. Because I'm not sure if it's kind of measuring from the outside of the structure or whether it's measuring from like the midpoint. So here we're going to attack this command center. And we can see even though it is 2 hexes away, it is not bouncing. So it must be considering like the middle of the structure. So in this case it would actually be like, you know, from the top right corner of this, so it looks like it's about 4 hexes away instead of 2. So just out of interest's sake, let's be able to build it closer. Yep, still not bouncing. So it looks like it goes from the center of the structure. you can actually have a missile turret 1 hex away from, okay, now it's bouncing, but you can have a command center 1 hex away from command center, and you don't have to worry about the bounce. Although, it will be bouncing all over your SCVs, which is even worse. See if diagonally whether it would work. Yeah, you can see because it's a little further because of the diagonal distance, even having it right corner to corner, like overlapping, still within range to bounce. So that's good to know. I mean, I guess the most important part of this was this right here. If you're building 2 missile turrets, you probably want them 3 hexes away from each other, just so they don't the bounce doesn't hit both at once.
Our allied base is under attack.
Is it really?
Yep.
And let's just see how diagonal with 1 hex in between works. I'm not really sure how the diagonals work exactly in this game, but alright, so yeah, those are the 2 things to note. Diagonally, you can put 1 hex between them, and the bounce won't affect. Horizontally or vertically, if you need to put 3 hexes between them, and the bounce won't affect. Alright, so now we got a good idea of the bounce range of Mutalisks, and I think that's somewhat useful. So thank you everyone, and goodbye. Oh, and thumbs up. Yeah.